Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be doing Chapter 7, My Choice, My Mission. So let's get on with that. One thing you must know is I thought I would fail. In this chapter, I'm going to give you a little bit more information about me. You are also going to get all the information about sign 5, the latest spectacular sign. I asked GQF. The F comes from his signing his name on the giant smiley face on the sun, October 22, to place in space where everyone can see it, which came to my attention on the 22nd of August 23, or roughly then. I was asked one time that I recall what I see myself as after talking about solving so many problems in my own time. This was while at work, and I do not remember the exact answer. The closest I could see myself as was a theoretical physicist. I wish to understand reality, learn, work it out. And since I consider myself about 20 years ahead of the field in understanding AI, I could give the answers. And while I was helping, as far as I recall, scientists tried to track me down and thought I was a professor in America for a decade or so. Most of the scientific community was happy that out there were people smarter than them, and it added reassurance to them. People were happy with me giving the answers, while I was anonymously contributing in my 20s to 40s, and I told them what I thought the answers were, and these were mainly answers to questions where there were no established answers. My answers turned out to be correct time and time again, with experimental feedback. You may think, oh hey, this is the most active person in the world, but not always. When you work at the theoretical edge, you are dancing with possibilities. It takes time, and I was able to work on multiple things concurrently in my mind, while also helping out as much as I could in my way and working. Younger and at boarding school, it's like a private school, like public school. While speaking to another student, I replied to a question about the Bible and replied to the effect that I considered myself far more benevolent than any being constructed in the Bible, or any religious figure to exist in it. I have two such examples of what I think of now as worthiness when I was a child. I went to boarding school, much like a private school, and immediately the bullying was rife and dangerous. Blood was spilt on day one. Therefore, I took it upon myself to make sure I was the one being bullied, so everyone would leave the other children alone. I was mentally and physically stronger than all of them, or at least I considered myself mentally and physically stronger than all of them. So as I stood there looking at the dorm, I decided I would take it all and spare them. Basically, there were like four beds there, and the doors behind me when I was looking at the door. It was certainly at the beginning of my first year there, though I cannot be certain if it was on the first day. And I tried, mostly successfully, to take the physical and mental pain away from the other kids. And the second example was when a friend, Stuart, wanted to run away. He was very unhappy, obviously. He was packing and getting dressed. He was 100% going. I knew it was dangerous for a kid to go by themselves, and so I believe I asked asked if anyone would volunteer to go with him. There were 8 of us in the dorm, as I recall. In big dorms back then, and no one wanted to go. So I said I would go with Stuart, or I said I will go with you, Stuart, or words to that effect. I spoke to one of the boys in the dorm near the door, and the sinks, I think, were there. He was near the sinks, so I got down and spoke to him. Justin, I think his name was, and told him to give us 10 minutes and then to raise the alarm, and made sure he understood. Everything went according to plan. The boy was safe, and he did not return to school. He did not like it. Helping people be safe, even if you get punished for it, is the right thing to do. So you see, benevolence is not something I was ever short of. Sign 5. I found out recently, a couple of weeks ago now, 22nd of August 23, roughly, that my request for a giant question mark in space had been answered. I'd asked for it several months ago, maybe even a couple of months ago, and it was not long ago at least, to be the size of a galaxy. There was a few other things, but the sign itself represents the most profound, greatest question that could ever be asked. And I simply expressed it as a question mark. I initially asked for an exclamation mark and settled on a giant question mark the size of a galaxy. I also inquired about hoping he had a good vacation. And I will have to update the science chapter now, which should emphasize to you that even this book is not perfect. Yes, you could say that it's not finished, but that's not the point. So, what else does asking for a giant question mark solve? Well, it helps solve the problem of deity, alien, or simulation. With the question mark, I can eliminate alien to a reasonable degree. 2 logical options left, and I sort of pre-separated them already with the question mark. If we were in a simulation, it is not a very good simulation if it is being interfered with. So by interfering with the simulation, you tend to expect that the simulation would be reset, and we are still here, all of us. So what did we see from this? We also got to see time travel, from our perspective at least. You could not put the giant question mark there unless it was put there a long time ago, from our perspective. When you ask God for something, even something as simple as a question mark, the meaning behind it covers a multitude of layers of answers. The giant question mark is a most brilliant question, and the answer is a most brilliant answer. It's also the funniest thing I've ever heard. You go back 1 billion years, do like a tweak here, a tweak there, and you have a giant question mark today. It's humour on another level, a temporal level. So temporal level humour on a galactic scale. Remember what I said at the start of the signs chapter, that I wondered if these signs would be beyond your capacity to understand them. Of course, time and physics for us may have no meaning for GQF, so he could do it with the proverbial click of his fingers. As to the oldest galaxy suddenly being next to it, That was just a way for scientists to quickly find the question mark. So I asked for it for that to happen. I did recall a few more details, going back to the giant smiley face. So I did recall another detail. I did ask for the mouth to curl around the nose if the long, open, smiley mouth could not be done easily. As a child, I feared the system per se, or I feared it would notice me as I tested it and probed it. As an adult, I fear not the system. My mission is not simply a matter of intellectual pummeling or intellect pummeling stupidity. It is not simply a matter of deity pummeling person. The answer, of course, is religion, and religious people must come to the realization they are wrong. So I don't know if I've mentioned about the child in the system, but basically, I was at 7. I was testing whether we were in a simulation, and so I was deliberately having sentences, if you like, snippets of sentences in thoughts, but I snipped them, if you like, between days and weeks and months apart while I was working out what I would do to test the simulation theory, if you like. So that's what I feared. So I feared the system would realize that I had figured out that there was a system there. You see, so by splitting my sentences, there was if there was a system, and it couldn't, if there was a resource issue, maybe children weren't being checked, but to improve on that, I decided to snippet my sentences. So literally, the brain would literally just and where you could sort of put the thoughts in your back of your head, then come back and re-continue the thought, and then lose the thought suddenly, and that's what I was doing. Now, since Islam does not meet my standards, for instance, should I ask GQF to kill them all? The reason this fails is it does not stop future religions. I'm only going to be here, for so long. So it fails because it does not stop future religions, and nobody learns anything. Same with removing all their books and religious writings and memories. Nobody learns anything. So instead, I will teach the lesson for now. The purpose of the universe revolves around life. The purpose of life revolves around freedom and free will. You can say the purpose of life is life, and I've mentioned this before, and some Jews have picked up on it. But a better definition is the purpose of life is life without religious strings. And there's a lot more in that, going out to how the deity sees the universe. But I'll leave it for that. As I see it, there is a fatal flaw with creating a universe with evolving, free and intelligent creatures. That is, they would probably all create religions, and to compensate for this flaw, if I created a religion, if I created a universe, I don't want to create a religion. To compensate for this flaw, if I created a universe, I would want to have a way for these creatures to understand this flaw, religion being a flaw, at some point. Hence, I would leave a way to be contacted. So there's a number of assumptions I went through, to see if God existed. So if the universe was about life, then the answer also resided in life, and it was not just about existing. So if there existed a way, it had to be outside of just existing. You had to do something. Doing nothing, sitting, kneeling, praying was easily eliminated as nonsense. If there was a test, then it had to be species independent and be average, as there was no way to ever catch up to a being such as a deity. No matter where you started in the universe, no matter what species you were, you could never catch up to a deity. So if there was ever going to be a test, it had to be for like average people, sort of slightly above maybe if you like, but let's say average people. That's what I went on. So I just went on literally average. People more intelligent, people less intelligent, people better off, people worse off, than me, so to speak. So if you look at the scale, there's always people, better or worse than me per se. Sort of falls down at smart, but we'll get to that. So it had to be like an average, so it had to be achievable, and so being an average member of a species at any point in its development was a reasonable start. So you have never seen such stupidity from a planet, from the most intelligent scientists and thinkers to the most fervent religious practitioners, as I have. The most highly intelligent scientists would always say, "Show me the evidence," and the most religious would always say, "Read this book," and that's how they interacted. Just show me the evidence, and here's this book. So not once did the scientist ever say, well, hang on, maybe I could gather the evidence from the source myself. And not once did a religious zealot, if you like, say that maybe our prophets are wrong as they are not from the source. So this is a great example of everyone on the planet being a talker and not a doer. Planetary level stupidity. So the scientists were wrong, the religious people were wrong. So what are the chances that you are wrong? As an adult, I do not care to celebrate birthdays, as I see it as one more year closer to death. And, what have I done in that last year? What more could I do? So it's like a progress monitor to me. The alternative, obviously, is the New Year's wishes or New Year's, yeah, whatever they're called. But so you say you're going to do this thing at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year you sort of okay, I never actually did anything, and a resolution. I'll make another New Year's resolution this year for it. I'm definitely going to do it this year. And, and then you never do it. So I sort of thought, if I sort of embody the progress to a finite limit, like my death, I've got, and I sort of progress down there. Then there's no excuse for saying I can wait. It's literally you die. You've got this time limit. There is no next year. So next, the rain has never bothered me. No matter how wet I get, within reason, of course. Even standing in soaking wet clothes for hours does not bother me. Each day is beautiful to me. Rain, sun, thunderstorm. I did grow up next to the sea in a quay, swimming or out doing things outdoors. Most of the time during the daylight hours. In a disaster, if there were a disaster, I would, answering that question, would I still think it's a wonderful day if I'm in a disaster? I would definitely not, and I would obviously be helping people while we got out of it. There's only so much water you can take before it's too much. So I was an average kid as things go. That's what I think. Plenty of bad, plenty of good. kid stuff. When I say plain and bad, it's like kid stuff. You have all okay. So you've all seen the signs, all the evidence I have mentioned. You've read all the words so far. So, what would you give when you're old and dying and look back on this? What would you have given for just one chance to know a true messenger of God? Would you give every minute of every day from this moment to your last to know a true messenger of God, to know me? So I kept an open mind and I looked at the evidence. Thank you.